الموانئ المصرية المحدثة، وتشمل هذه البضائع السلع الغذائية والأعلاف والأدوية ومستلزمات الإنتاج. تأتي القرارات الأخيرة كجزء من حزمة إصلاحات اقتصادية شاملة وبالتنسيق مع الحكومة المصرية وبدعم من شركائنا الدوليين، وذلك في سبيل الحفاظ على استقرار الاقتصاد الكلي. ومن المرتقب أن تسهم هذه
It's expected that these measures would enable us to control the inflation rates and to achieve comprehensive reform. I am honored now to give the floor to the Egyptian Central Bank Governor, Mr. Hassan Abdallah. Thank you, Dina. I would like to start by welcoming you all. We're honored to have you. After welcoming you, I would like to start by extending thanks to the heads of the banks as well as the staff of the Central Bank of Egypt. I'm not thanking them for just what happened today. I'm thanking them for a very long period with external shocks and internal problems. The banking sector during this period has witnessed a lot of difficulties, and it was able to help us to stand now and to tell you that we have a plan and we have a path, and we together would reach it in an effective way that would help all Egyptians to have good results and the reduction of inflation. At the outset, I would like to start with the interest rate decision regarding raising the interest rate by 600 points during the exceptional meeting. The objective of this decision is to control inflation and to put it on a decline to reach the target at the long term. We developed a statement today communicating to the specialists that includes this information. But today I would like to try to explain to people and the citizen what does this mean. This simply means that we have inflation and increasing products and prices. The Egyptian citizen and the citizen in general, when things come to his pocket, he is smart enough to deal with this. So what happened was two things. This inflation was one of the fierce diseases that face any economy. So the citizen faced a high inflation and expected higher rates. So what used to happen, and you all recognize it, it was simply that the citizen would say, I'm going to put 100 Egyptian pounds in the bank and take it as 120 Egyptian pounds. After a year, this pen costs 100. This year, next year, it would be 130 pounds. So he leaves the Egyptian pound and goes to look for a product and a commodity to buy, be it a refrigerator or iron or a US dollar. Accordingly, it is a vicious circle. So we decided to increase their interest rate so that the Egyptian pound would be able to enjoy a value on investment, and keeping the Egyptian pound would be useful for the Egyptian citizen and for us all. Accordingly, increasing the interest rate to this level by this method is something needed. As you all know, there is no one thing of everything I will cover would on its own be capable of solving the problem. It is just part of the solution. This would go along with other solutions. And today, thank God, we are on a decline trajectory and not an increasing one. And we would not hesitate to use any tools we have so that on the medium term we will be able to reach an inflation rate with one figure.
عشان نكون واضحين الحاجات
دي. To be clear, these things of course wouldn't happen overnight.
كل اللي حصل ده
all what we did today is just the beginning, and this is just a start that would need work from the Central Bank of Egypt and work on the real economy, and this is exactly what we all need. In the past days we have been through very difficult conditions. Why? Because there were expectations on inflation and the exchange rate that was very confusing and disturbing. The decision we need also to discuss is the exchange rate decision. There were a lot of voices that said that the exchange rate would increase inflation and we need to defend this exchange rate. In fact, our viewpoint in the Central Bank of Egypt and the state is that having two exchange rates in any economy is a disease. It is a disease that cannot last because it does not help things. The dollar was for 30 pounds and became for 50 pounds, but in the black market it was 70 pounds or any figure. We used to hear illogical numbers. This all was because there was no confidence in the Egyptian pound and no confidence in managing the cash flow and no hope in the future. Today I'm standing before you telling you that thank God we have enough to meet our commitments and we have also a surplus, especially after standardizing the exchange rate. The danger of having two exchange rates impacts each and every one of us. People might take it simply, but there is a lot of voices that wanted the state to go with two exchange rates. So I wanted to explain that this exchange rate, if we have two, then this black market would apply to all commodities and all products in the future. For any commodity, you will have two prices, and by the end of the day, during the last period, our potentials and capabilities were just to provide the dollars for the strategic commodities which are mostly subsidized. So the citizen, when he used to go to buy any commodity, he would buy it at a high price. And here there is an important point we need all to be aware of. We as consumers in Egypt are sensitive to prices less than any other citizen worldwide. A lot of people go and find the commodity at a high price and yet they purchase it. We are part of the solution. Part of the solution is to reduce our purchases when the prices are high, and to know that right now I can postpone my consumption decision till the future because the prices won't increase. Why won't increase? Because people used to claim that they used to bring the dollar at a very high price. That's why the pricing of the commodities and the products was very high. Now everything is available. We started today to avail a lot through the banking sector. This would make you see the commodities and the products getting into Egypt. And of course, you have seen today what happened in the market, and this is a real movement. And the central bank, because some news said that the central bank intervened by selling US dollars. We did not need to do it. The resources we got came from the market and went to the market, and here the heads of the banks are nodding to say yes, because this is the first time for us to see that volume of resources. Does this mean that the problem has come to an end? No. We have cumulative problems, but things are starting to solve. We have now cash flows, and God willing, everything would go on the right track in cooperation with you and in cooperation with the state.
أنا حضراتكم طبعا يعني عايز أسيب وقت
I would like to leave some time for questions, so I just wanted to say one point
عشان نفتكر إيه اللي كان حاصل.
to remember what happened, and these are indicators announced everywhere. At a certain moment, the dollar notes on the risks of the Arab Republic of Egypt reached 25% for $1. What does this mean? Any company or any state has, of course, cash flow. Sometimes it has surplus, sometimes it needs more cash flow, regardless of the long-term vision. This means that this 25% tells me that if I will go to the market today, I want to find 1 penny, and the people, even when they find it, they will get it at 30%. But now the price is only 6%. This means that the markets abroad are opened before me if I would need them. If I would need them, then the market is open. And so long as it is open, this means I have the ability to get it. Also, we used to have the insurance contracts on the default of a company or a state. These contracts reach 27% per year. This means that if you are a foreign investor and you need to secure and guarantee the risks of a state like Egypt, then it would have been 27%. What is it right now? It is 211 points, then it is 2%. Why? Because these reforms, be it the monetary reforms or other reforms in the state, are witnessed by everyone. For the future contracts of the currency, it was reduced by 30%. I think by this I briefed you and provided you with the main messages, and now we can receive the questions at the end. I would like to thank you all, and I would like to thank the government for the good coordination, and of course the political leadership. Without its support, we wouldn't have been here today. I would like to tell you that this is my first press conference with you, and I would like to tell you that we are on the right track, because this is a country that would be balanced economically, strong, with the efforts of everyone and the understanding of everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much, the Central Bank of each governor, for explaining the problem and giving us the vision. You mentioned important targets and figures and numbers, like reaching an inflation rate of 1 figure, and we are on the right track. Having, of course, 2 exchange rates in the market is a disease that does not support the economy of a strong country. Distinguished guests, due to the intensive participation of all sectors in this press conference today, as you saw, the colleagues are giving you cards to write your questions on them. And we will ask these questions to the governor and his deputies. We will collect these cards and present them to the governor to respond. Until this takes place, I would like to invite Mr. Rami Abu Naga, the Deputy Governor for Monetary Stability, to introduce his vision about today's decisions. Good evening. We would like to welcome you all to the Central Bank of Egypt. We're glad to receive you on this important day. In fact, these decisions you've seen today through the decisions made by the Central Bank of Egypt helps in regaining confidence. And as the governor said, inflation and high prices are very bad indicators that causes mistrust, and this increases inflation further. And this is the biggest problem or challenge that can face any state or any economy. Why? Because in brief, all these elements that lead to increase of prices is because of uncertainty and instability. And when there are these conditions because of external or internal reasons that lead to uncertainty and causes instability and lack of confidence, this is reflected on more inflation because it causes mistrust that leads to the ability of the speculators to raise the prices to unjustified levels. We have all seen this experience during the last period, and we have seen the uncertainty and how it drove a lot of people to keep and store commodities and products, and this led to pricing imbalance at all levels, be it the level of commodities or services, and this made the citizen try to hedge against this by all means, and it was the whole community that paid for that because of the increase in prices, and this led to more uncertainty that made things even more difficult for us in the Central Bank of Egypt. One of the most important targets is the price stability on the medium term. We took a package of measures when all the components and the elements needed for enabling us to take this decision were available. Of course, I do not want to add a lot because I want to give the floor to your questions to be answered. What is important for us as the Central Bank of Egypt is to support all elements that would help us regain confidence. We talked, of course, about the storing of commodities because of uncertainty, because when there is no ability to predict the future, we won't be able to price commodities, and this leads to speculation, and this speculation causes a kind of paralysis or instability in the economic activities. If I'm a producer who cannot price my product or service, then the consumer would try to purchase more than his needs, and this increases the pressures, and by the end of the day this is reflected on increase in the levels of prices. God willing, during the coming period, through the measures we took today and through following up of the markets, we would be very keen on taking all steps needed to contain inflation. This is our main objective, and this would help regain confidence, because by the end of the day, Egypt has challenges resulting from the natural resources as well as the human capital. We know that we have the employment rates that are very important for us. We have 800,000 to 1 million new graduates from universities who join the labor market. So if the economic activities are not well, this won't help us provide employment opportunities, and would have a negative impact also on production. And as a main element for all this is stability and certainty in prices, because without that we will have a lot of disturbances in the markets that would lead to all the damage we've mentioned. So through the measures we took today, and we will keep following them up to control any wrong acts, then we would be able to control the market, and we started seeing positive things today through the local market and the international market. And the indicators were mentioned already by the governor. We started witnessing this improvement. And with the other positive news, we expect things would improve further, and it will help us regain confidence in the Egyptian economy. The Egyptian economy has the capabilities to be an emerging economy and to attract investments, be it foreign or local investments, to support development and reach good growth rates, as well as one figure inflation rates. Thank you, and I would like to thank the governor for this opportunity, and many happy returns. Thank you very much, Mr. Rami Abu Naga, Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt. And now let's move on to the speech of Mr. Tariq Al-Khouli, the Deputy of the Governor for Banking Stability. Welcome at the Central Bank of Egypt. Many happy returns in the name of Allah. Banking stability may be something difficult for banks, but the main mission we were playing recently was securing the sanity of the banking sector. As you all know, one of the objectives of the central bank and one of the elements in the banking law is to secure the rights of depositors and clients. So at the beginning of every movement, we take directives from the governor to do tests, and these tests measure the impact of the elements that might influence the financial status of banks, like the exchange rate and the interest rate. Not just that, but there are also other elements that our colleagues in the field of banking stability do through doing different sensitivity tests that exceed the interest rate and the exchange rate. I do not have enough time to explain them all to you. The objective of the sensitivity test is to measure the ability of the banking sector and each individual bank to absorb any shocks, be it internal shocks or external shocks that might influence us. Would we be able to absorb this shock or not? We do a number of sensitivity tests, and we do also stress tests for all indicators combined together to see the top impact on the banking sector. The results used to change every hour, and our colleagues in the different sectors were up to our responsibility, and they were able to deliver the results, and the results were all satisfactory. I would like to tell you that the sanity and the soundness of the banking sector is so important. If we talk about the capital efficiency rate, then its average is now 18.6%. The international standards say 10%, but the local standards, according to the directives of the central bank, is 12%. So we take a margin 2.5%. 10% above it. If you talk about the percentage of the non-regular clients to other clients, it improved from 4.7 to be 3% now. If someone would ask me what is the international standard, there is no international standard, but our internal standard is 8 to 10%, and 10% is the worst percentage. Thank God our percentage is 3%, but there is another rate that we need to consider, which is the appropriations and the allocations of the bank for clients. It ranges between 92%. These are the soundness, and there is also the liquidity rate. The liquidity rate of local currency reaches 37%, and the standard of the central bank is 26%. As for the coverage of the liquidity proportionate to the assets meeting the short-term commitments, the standard is 100%. Thank God the banking sector is at 108%. The loans average percentage to deposits is 54% because the bank started operating and investing in loans for public and private sector and is working on the private sector mostly. The return on assets rate with doubling the assets of the banks over the past 6 years to percentages that reach 30 to 40 or 50%, and despite that the banking sector kept a return on assets that is 1.10%, and it is more than 20% for the return on property. This is an indicator that our banks are committed, disciplined, and the central bank is following up what the bank is doing and is following what they are doing to prevent any tension because of external elements. I would like to thank our colleagues in the banks because
استيداء المعلومات بسرعة، وهم الحقيقة بيلبوا هذا، لأن السرعة دي ما بتبقاش بس علشان إن إحنا محتاجين